어렵게. 알았어. 야, 이거 가져가. 다 가져갈 거지. 아니, 이거 가져간다, 이거. 나 티가 필요해. 잠깐만. 아이씨, 네. 야, 이거. 안 할 거야!
We all know that the members of BTS are very close with one another. I mean, have you seen how sweet they are in carrying around each other during rehearsals or just whenever they spend quality time together? Because of this, it goes without saying that the boys consider each other as a family, but just like any other family, they also encounter some hiccups. While despite being seen as a very close-knit group in front of the camera, the boys would also butt heads with each other from time to time, just like how J-Hope got angry and ended up throwing a banana at JUNGKOOK. Despite all of this, ARMYs would agree that the boys are literal sweethearts, but just like any normal human being, they also have their own set of table flipping or fire breathing moments with each other, and believe it or not, they're kinda scary when angry. From the serious ones to the most trivial ones, the boys can get a little antsy with one another, but sometimes they fight about the most absurd reasons as well.
이미 춤을 추고 있는 중이었어요. 춤추고 있는데 화가 이만큼 올라왔다가
For example, because a dumpling, maybe? Anyways, if you want to know more, then better stick around because I'll be bringing you some of the moments BTS members got angry with each other. And yes, that dumpling aside, they too fight rather seriously at one point. Okay, let's get started, shall we? Let's first talk about the leader. RM is pretty much perfect as a leader and as a performer and composer. He is known to be very patient as well, but this eloquent man more often than not is tested by his members. This is the reason the ever-charismatic leader of BTS got triggered by the antics the boys were pulling, specifically by eldest Jin, to the point RM got angry at Jin, who was hitting his face while they were performing. No one knows whether the eldest is doing it intentionally or everything is just an accident, but one thing is for sure, Namjoon didn't like it. Moving on, this next one is very relatable if you'd ask me. Since RM is acting as the resident translator for the boys, it's only natural for him to correct his members in case they make a mistake. But the problem is, his members would sometimes use this to annoy him, to the point the leader would just explode and shout at them while they go on and about their antics. I mean, just look at the way he looks disapprovingly at Suga and Cookie, who on the other hand, don't care. I bet you guys are confused since we all know BTS is very polite and respectful and fans adore how they get along with each other, so it might be unthinkable for most fans to see them get under each other's nerves. Despite this, the members revealed that the leader is the least scary member when angry, so maybe this is the reason why the other members of BTS aren't that worried when they make their plan to get under RM's skin. Speaking of scariest, I'm about to reveal who sits on the top spot based on the ranking the members made. But before we proceed, who do you think is the scariest member when angry? To answer this question, V was once asked to rank his members from the scariest to the least scary when angry, and Tete is more than willing to elaborate on to satisfy ARMY's curiosity. In case you want to know, V ranked himself at 6, saying that he's rather calm and even-tempered, and the only time you see him get triggered is when members take away his food or when they are playing games. We'll get back to that later, but this time, let's discover who V thinks is the scariest among his group mates when angered. Surprisingly, Jimin's name is first on his list, and I know ARMYs are just as confused as I am because we can't imagine how this certified fluffball can intimidate anyone. According to V though, Jimin's squishy cheeks are misleading because the boy can get pretty intense if you unluckily get on his bad side. J-Hope can personally attest to this. This was actually because one time Jimin got pretty angry when a gum got stuck to his phone because a member wasn't able to throw it away. It was belatedly revealed that the culprit behind the forgotten chewing gum was J-Hope, who got afraid and wasn't able to confess to the quote crime in fear of Jimin's wrath. In another instance, Jimin even scolded his member while they were preparing for their album B, in which Jimin was appointed as the leader. We all know how hardworking BTS is and their professionalism is top notch, but sometimes they can get distracted as well, and this is where Jimin's nagging and scolding came into play. Given how successful the album was, it seems like Jimin's way to get his members' focus is 100% effective, right? Number 2 on V's list is Suga. We all know this rapper can get pretty intense on stage, but turns out he can be very intense as well off stage, especially when mad. One of the best examples would be how he gave Jimin the coldest stare after getting black ink on his finger because of the fake keyboard the former drew. Can you see how scary those eyes were? Not to mention how scary Suga looked when he threw the makeshift keyboard to the ground. That is pretty intense to me. I hope you guys are ready for more because we'll be moving on to one of the most serious fights the boys had, this time between Jin and V. This happened backstage during BTS's 2017 Wings tour, where the two members had arguments moments before they went back up the stage and finished the concert. The reason why the fight came about was that RM brought up a timing flaw in the choreography for one of their performances, and just like the professionals that they are, they tried correcting the mistake before the performance, but it didn't turn out very nicely because V suggested for Jin to run faster to get the timing correctly. The eldest reasoned out that he was already running at his fullest. This is when V decided to just drop the subject, but Jin was frustrated and demanded why V was complaining. The argument got pretty heated with the boys raining voices and pointing fingers that RM together with the rest of the group tried to pacify the situation. You can see that Tete was on the verge of tears, and even though both of them were still upset, they were able to carry out the performance until the end of the concert. Luckily, they were also able to sort everything out after, and fans are pretty relieved seeing the boys were able to patch things up with proper apologies given and received by one another. Okay, we finally arrived at the infamous dumpling incident. Yup, just V and Jimin fighting and ignoring each other for 2 whole weeks because of dumplings. Well, it's pretty cute to say the least, but at the same time, it's very funny hearing how they ended not being able to stand each other because of those steamed delicacies. They first mentioned the dumpling incident when they appeared on James Corden's carpool, but failed to go into detail about what happened. Jimin eventually shared the whole story during a livestream because fans just want to get a better picture of what transpired between the two members. Jimin explained that the reason they got angry with each other was that they could agree on when to eat dumplings. V wanted to eat them right away, but on the contrary, Jimin thought it was better to wait, especially since they were still practicing. Long story short, they ended up fighting, and the other members asked them to leave because they were interrupting their rehearsals. Eventually, the two calmed down, and even though it took them quite some time to finally settle their feud, Jimin revealed that right now it had become a very funny story for them to look back on, not to mention how pretty embarrassing it was for them to fight over something as trivial as that. But these aside, we all know BTS treasures one another, and fights are pretty normal, and I bet they will encounter a lot more in the future. The good thing is, these experiences will surely make their bond stronger as they continue to world domination. In case we missed something, don't hesitate to comment down below. Also, don't forget to give this video a like and stay tuned for more. See you!